You can do anything.
All right,
You can
perfect.
do
You can do
anything.
anything.
You can
We'll
do
end it there.
anything if you believe.
All right, all right, all right. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me actually take off my screen share here so that you can see better. There we go. Um, just really grateful that you're here on this beautiful Saturday, right? In a brand new year. So I want to welcome you and just acknowledge you for being here because you could be anywhere, but something inside of you chose to be here today. You know, you could be out there scrolling or hustling or numbing out or whatever, but something inside of you said, yes, I'm going to be here. And that yes actually matters because it tells me that you are someone that sorry, I was just letting someone in. It tells me that you're someone that senses that there's more, right? More freedom, there's more peace, there's more alignment. And maybe you can feel it. Like you can feel that quiet whisper of voice that says, "You know what? I know I came here for something greater. I came here for something greater." And that's what today is about. So this isn't just about why you don't have what you want yet. It's about why the world doesn't have what it wants yet. Because it's the same mechanism, right? The same mechanism that block your peace are the same mechanisms that blocks the peace on the planet. So no pressure, right? No pressure there. But here's the deal. You can actually do something about it. Because when you shift your internal context towards peace, that ripple tends to move outward. And that's how transformation actually ends up becoming awakening. And that's the business I'm in. I'm in the business of awakening. So before we dive in, let me just tell you why I care so deeply about all of this and a little bit about me. So I've spent the last, I don't know, 20 or something years teaching gratitude and peace around the world. I am the founder of Gratitude Training and Rewired for Peace, which are programs that have to date reached over 20,000 graduates globally. I'm also a published author, keynote speaker, blah, 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 blah. But because most importantly, I'm a lifelong student of what it means to live from love rather than fear. So what I'm sharing today isn't just theory. It's lived, it's tested, trust me. And I've seen what happens when ordinary people start shifting their context. They change, they transform, and everything around them begins to change too. And before we get into the framework I'm going to teach you today, let's get to know each other just a little bit. So, why don't you drop in the chat where you're tuning in from, like city or country? Like I'm in Spain right now. Um, and I know that there are people from all over here. So I would love to see where you guys are tuning in from. So city or country, and then maybe we have Miami, San Francisco, and maybe one word that describes why you signed up today. One or two words. Like what called you forth to be here because you're here, right? So you chose to be here. And usually when we do things like that, we choose to be somewhere, there's usually a driving force. And I want you to just see if you can see what that was, right? Like what had you be here today? So just maybe one word or maybe you can write a sentence. I'm not going to get mad at you, right? So if you could do that. So I see Miami, I see South Carolina, I see Nashville, yay, Arlington, so I'm the only one outside of the US right now, I think. Let's see. Yes, Claudia, connection, reinforcement of the amazing principles that have changed my life. Yes. And Maria, yes, to West Palm Beach, my own stomping ground. Um, all right. So, and if you feel like it while I talk, please drop in the chat like, what had me be here today? Because sometimes we just do things and we don't realize that there is actually a driving force behind it. Connection, yes. Okay, so we've got people from everywhere, and all of you have something in common. All of us have something in common, right? We're doers. Like, I mean, most of us are doers. We do things all the time. Like maybe you've read the books, you've built your business, you've raised a family, you've done inner work. But yet there's this sense that maybe there's more. Like maybe I'm missing something here. And that's my world too, right? I've spent over 20 years teaching transformation and leadership, not from theory, right, but from falling flat on my face and then rebuilding and then realizing that all the how-tos in the freaking world won't work if your inner operating system is off. So I'm going to say this up front so that you can prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for this session, right? I'm going to go a little deeper than a typical webinar today. Not like woo-woo deep, but like results deep. Because surface level tools is not going to fix what's happening at the level of being. So we talked about we're all doers, but at the level of being, those how-tos are not going to work. They're not going to fix it. So I may challenge some of you of what you think you know, right? And I'm going to ask for permission to do that. And the way that you're going to give permission is going to look like this. You stay on the call, right? If you agree, you're going to stay on the call. And if you get off the call, I know you're like, you know what? I'm not ready to be triggered in any kind of awakening way today. All right? Deal? Okay, so let's get into the real mechanics of why you do not have what you want yet, or why you may feel stuck, or like there's another glass ceiling to break through, because we go through life breaking through glass ceiling after glass ceiling after glass ceiling, right? So let's get into those mechanics. And we're going to start with a foundation, right? Most people are obsessed with content, right? Content. Content is like our goals, the habits, the hacks, the how-tos, and the bottomless need for material goods. We're like all obsessed with it. We're addicted to it at this point. And content, you know, while it does matter, but content actually lives inside a container, right? All the content lives inside of a container. And we're going to call that container context, right? And if your container, if the context is fear-based, no amount of strategy or action will create what you want. Let's say peace or success or whatever result you say you want, right? If the context is scarcity, abundance and money will always feel like it's out of reach because your context is scarcity. So abundance and money cannot thrive in there or even be in there, exist in there. So the way we can look at it is, imagine if I plant a palm tree. There's some people from Florida I saw. So imagine I'm planting a palm tree seed in Florida. What happens, right? Most likely it's going to grow into a palm tree if I take care of it and water it and do all the things I need to do, right? But it's going to grow into a palm tree. It might even flourish and might even thrive. And the reason that is because Florida is an environment, right? It's a context for palm trees to exist. And in some cases, even thrive. Now, if I were to take that same seed and plant it in Alaska, let's say, or on the North Pole, it would die right away, right? It would just die. Like it can't become a palm tree. It cannot grow. It would die before it becomes anything. It's the same seed, right? But different soil. Same seed, different soil, different environment, different container. Let me pull a screenshot up here real quick. Right? So same seed, different context. Okay? So we are all born creators. And I'm going to even assert that we are all intuitively here, born to plant good seeds, right? Effort, love, ambition, connection. But if the soil of our consciousness is operating at, let's say, judgment, shame, blame, addiction, gossip, fear, then nothing sustainable can grow or be created. And no matter what we try to quote unquote do, we're simply just operating and taking actions in the same context, in the same environment, in the same container. And then we're like, Well, maybe if I plant 10 seeds, one will grow. Maybe if I plant 100 seeds, one will grow. And I'm telling you, it won't, right? Not if you're not in the right environment or the right context. So the question to ask ourselves in our lives isn't really, well, what do I do? Right? What do I need to do here? What can I do? Right? The question that we need to ask ourselves is, who am I being? Like, who do I need to be from a beingness level to create the things I want to create in my life? Because your beingness is what's going to generate the context that things can thrive in or grow in. So, who do I need to be to create the things I want to create in my life? What frequency, what field, what energy, what context am I actually generating? Because context doesn't just shape your life, it also shapes the collective field and energy that we are all breathing in together, right? All of us. So let's do this. I want you to drop in the chat. I want you to share an area where where you feel like you've been doing everything right, but that golden result that you want to see has not happened yet. It hasn't landed, but you're like, I'm checking the boxes, I'm dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and like you're doing everything, all my ducks in a row, right? You're doing everything right, but you're not seeing the result yet. So I want you to drop in the area. So, is it in the area of money, love, health, relationship, career, peace, parenting? Like, just pick one area that you feel like you're doing everything and you're not seeing the result. Let's see. Business, love, weight loss, right? Health, right? Relationship and joint money. Beautiful. Career. See a couple more. So you're about to see why and how to shift that, right? How, why, and how to shift it. And so we're going to do an experience, and we're going to experience this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 phrases. Let me just pull up the presentation here so I can get to it. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 phrases that you've either seen before, heard before, or said before. So I'm going to put it on the screen in a minute, right? And I want you to just read it silently to yourself. No comments in the chat, no miming what you're seeing, right? Just read it quietly to yourself. And after a few seconds, like 5 seconds or so, I'll give you enough time to read it. I will remove it. Okay, so again, I will show you 3 statements or phrases that you've either heard, seen, or said before. Okay, everybody ready? Because here we go. So look at the screen. Boom. So just read them. Okay. Now, if you just read bird in the hand, pears in the spring, and once in a lifetime, if your video is on, you can raise your hand, or if not, you could drop a yes in the chat if you read that. If you read something else, I'm just going to ask you to be silent, no comments in the chat. Okay, so I see some yeses, I saw some hands. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Now, I want you to notice your reaction when I say this next thing. It doesn't say that. It does not say bird in the hand, pears in the spring, or once in a lifetime. I'm telling you, it does not say that. Okay? Now, I want you to notice internally. I want you to start noticing yourself. Like, watch yourself. Watch your thoughts. Like, are you like, oh, she's lying, or I know what I saw, or you're like, oh, I'm doubting yourself. Just know you're all going to have a different reaction to what I'm saying, right? And that's what's so cool, because it's about you noticing you, right? So I'm going to give you another chance to look at it. Okay, so ready? I'm going to put it up again for a few seconds, and then I'm going to take it off after about 5 seconds. Here we go. All right. Now, again, if you just read Bird in the Hand, Paris in the Spring, and Once in a Lifetime, I want you to drop a yes in the chat or simply raise your hand if your video is on. Okay, so I see a couple of hands. Great. I see some yeses coming in. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, again, I'm sorry, but it does not say that. I promise you, it does not say that. So notice again your inner dialogue. Maybe you think I'm tricking you, right? Or maybe you think I'm showing you different screens, or maybe you're questioning yourself. Maybe you think this is stupid and you just want to get off the call. Whatever it is, just notice your inner dialogue. I love that. Emoji just came in, right? So okay, so someone that actually still read Bird in the Head, Paris in the Spring, Once in a Lifetime, and would be willing to work with me. The first person that types me in the chat gets to go. So you must have read Bird in the Head and Paris in the Spring, Once in a Month. There we go, Karen. All right, let me see if I can. There you are. I am going to pin you so that we can see you. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Karen, and you can unmute yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the slide up again. And what I want you to do is I want you to read it out loud. And then everyone else, I want you to still read it to yourself. Okay? Are you ready, Karen? Okay, yeah. Let's do it. Here we go. Read it out loud.
Bird in the hand, Paris in the spring, once in a lifetime.
Okay. All right. It doesn't say that.
Okay, so maybe bird Paris once.
No, I'm going to help you. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Can you see the mouse?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to point to each word. When I point to the word, I want you to read that word. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Bird in the hand.
So what did you just read?
There's two thes.
Got it. Right?
Jesus God, there's two thes in Paris in the spring.
And what about here?
Once in a lifetime.
Right.
I knew I was missing something. I knew it, but I couldn't see it.
Okay. Now, if anyone on the call didn't see the and the until Karen pointed it out, drop a me in the chat, because I can tell you, Karen, you're not alone in this, right? You're not alone in this, and I'm going to explain to you guys what just happened. But first, let's give Karen a hand. I usually do jazz hands in here. So thank you, Karen, for taking a risk.
No, I have a question.
Yeah,
in
sure.
The first one, was it like that? Was it written?
Oh, yep. It's the same slide. I've just gone back and forth from the same slide.
Okay, I believe you. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for asking, though. Let me unpin you real quick here. Unpin. There we go. Okay, so what just happened here, right? You all just looked right at something, or most of you. Some of you might have seen it right away. But for those of you that did, you looked at something, but you read something else. And what happened was your brain actually edited reality. And that's something that we have called the reticular activating system, or some people call it RAS, but reticular activating system. And it's basically a filter between what is and what you see, right? And what this filter does, it lets in what's familiar. Right? Remember what I said? I said, you're going to read something you either seen before, heard before, or read before. Your brain immediately went into the files from the past to look at something that you've seen, read, or heard before. So then it lets in what's familiar, what matches that belief, and what you subjectively deem true or valuable, often based on your past conditioning and past information. And then the filter just simply discards the rest. And it actually does this to protect us, okay? Because if we were to take in all the information available to us at any given moment, we would go absolutely mad. So it actually helps us. But then here's the thing. If this is true, then the quality of your life actually depends on how your mind is wired, right? What you see is based on how your mind is wired, based on your past conditioning. And I just want to say, imagine in a relationship fight, If you can't see the and the and the in this screen here, right? And the screen, then imagine what you're missing when you're all tagged and you're in an argument with someone. And you think you're hearing what they're saying, but you're actually your brain is filtering out certain things because you're going to the past based on what you know about this person. And that's why people are always like, you're not hearing what I'm saying. And it's actually true because you're not hearing what they're saying. Right? And so here's the thing. If your world is based on how your mind is wired, then if your mind is tuned to fear, you're going to see a dangerous world. If it's tuned to scarcity, you're going to see lack everywhere. If it's tuned to, let's say, judgment, you're going to experience attack and separation in your life, right? It's like our brain is almost like a search engine, like Google, right? Whatever we think or type in Google, right? Whatever we think, consciously or unconsciously, it's going to deliver matching results, right? So if your thoughts are, I'm not enough, you're going to find outside of you endless evidence that you're not enough. Because that's what your reticular activating system is going to let in, because that's the conversation you have. That's the context that you are. I'm not enough. And that's what you believe. And then your reticular activating system is going to find matching things and let it in. It's not going to even hear the good stuff. I mean, think about that. You're not even going to hear the good stuff, but it's actually probably there and you're not even hearing it. Now, if your thoughts are, I'm whole, perfect, and complete, right? Then the world will actually rearrange itself to prove that to you, because now you're looking for evidence that you are. We as human beings, we are like very committed to being right about how we have it. So let's be right about some good stuff then. Why wouldn't we want to be right about I'm whole, perfect, and complete instead of being right about I'm not enough, right? So the world will actually rearrange itself to prove it to you because you're looking for evidence now. So reality is still the same. Reality didn't change. The only thing that changed is your lens. And your lens creates your context, right? Your lens, the way you're seeing things, is generating the environment in which you live your life out of. And here's the bigger truth, because this is not just personal. It's actually planetary. Right? Because if enough of us keep choosing fear or coming from fear, we're going to keep generating a fearful world. And a fearful context or a fearful world can hold things like war, division, hate, which has us generate what we're seeing in the world. Now, if enough of us, or when enough of us start choosing or operating from peace, love, wholeness, connection, unity, reality will actually shift and show us more of that. And the best part of context and how you're being is that it's actually contagious. Like kind of how moods are contagious. You know, someone's really having a really bad day and at work, and suddenly everybody's having a bad day at work, right? Or someone comes to a party and they're all joy and dancing and having fun, and suddenly it's contagious. And we are part of spreading that. So let's get ready to type in the chat again, okay? I want you to think of an area in your life, right, where you've been stuck. Some of you already put one in earlier, right? Whether it was like finances, money, parenting, whatever, right? And you could pick another one if you want for this, but you could pick that one as well. So you've been stuck, maybe stuck just recently, or maybe stuck your whole life. And I want you to ask yourself, what is the story, the automatic story? So this story might actually be unconscious, but I'm going to ask you to really stop yourself and take a break and see if you can identify what the automatic story that you tell yourself about it is, right? And what I mean by that is, an example would be like, you might have, life is always hard for me, you know, or let's say that your areas in the career, right? And you're like, you have a story that says people can't be trusted, right? Or there's just not enough time or money. There's not enough. The world is broken. It's not worth it, right? So I want you to think of what could that story be? And it could just be a sentence. You don't have to go crazy, but like still be vulnerable, real, and honest, and don't edit it, right? Just get it out, right? So based on where you feel you're stuck, dig deep inside and go, what could be? Maybe it's not even true. Like if you're like, oh, maybe it's that. Like you're exploring right now. We're exploring your inner world right now. So what are some of the stories that I might be telling myself that are not supporting what I want or this thing that I want? Okay, so I see, so I'm never sure what to do with my time. Life is chaotic. Brilliant, right? Brilliant. It could be, it's hard to make money. Or maybe you want a relationship, but you're walking around with a story that says, I will always be alone. Or people always leave, right? I'm so disorganized, right? Perfect. Beautiful story. I can't do my business perfectly. It's never good enough to put out there yet, right? So perfectionist, like it's got to be perfect before I put it out there. These are great, you guys. These are great. And if you're still typing, please still send it, and I'll still move on. But these are exactly what I'm talking about. And you want to put it in the chat, even if I'm moving on, because there's a reason. There's something that happens when you not only identify it, but when you also put it out there. And if you have a story that is too vulnerable to put it in a group chat, then take yourself to the next level and at least write it on a piece of paper in front of you. But why not? Like, that's just a story too. It's neutral, right? Okay. So here's the thing. The moment and I said it right, the moment you name the story or share the story, you actually have an opportunity opening up. Because when you identify it and share it, you can actually stop being run by it. Right? So some of you have already taken that step right now. I always have to give details to everything I'm doing. Parents and siblings are divorced, so is love even worth it, right? Amazing. So you can actually stop being run by it. That's the moment awakening begins. Like when you can own your stuff, right? When you realize that you've been bamboozled by your past, or maybe hypnotized by your past. And what happens when we are running these automatic stories and not being aware of them, then we're not actually seeing life. We're not seeing life. All we're seeing is our conditioning. So you're not seeing reality, right? You're not seeing life. You're seeing your conditioning, your past. And that conditioning collectively is what's keeping most of humanity asleep. And that conditioning that you're seeing through your lens is also why you don't have the results that you want, even if you quote unquote do everything right. And maybe you've known this for a while, right? Maybe you've known these stories been running you for a while, and you're like, maybe you just keep repeating it. You keep repeating this knowledge in all the workshops you do, all the webinars you attend, or in your journal, or maybe just in your mind. And now you're becoming addicted to this story because this is how it is, right? You haven't been willing to even let it go yet. And the problem is that you keep trying to shift it, right, by doing things differently. Taking different how-to classes and reading endless books and articles on what to do. When what will actually shift it is just to focus on how you be. And the first step in shifting how you be is to begin to shift your perspective of what you see and how you see it. And that's obviously not necessarily easy to do all on your own, right? But here's the magic. Here's the magic. If you can see your context, right? If you can actually see your stories that are generating the environment that you can see your results. It makes sense to you why those results are in the context based on your stories that you have. If you can see it like you just did, right? like I'm disorganized, or I'm terrible with time management, or life is chaotic, right? If you could actually see it, then you can create something new. You can create a new story. And to be able to see it, it takes awareness, it takes noticing. And you have to begin to explore and notice your inner world, your inner workings, your inner dialogue, your way of being, how you show up, right? Become aware of how you show up in the world, right? And so if you look at the story that you just chatted in, I want you to take that story and I want you to think, okay, well then, what new story would actually create what you want in that area? Or what new story would create peace, abundance, joy, success, or whatever it is you want, right? In your life, maybe in the world, like inevitably, like, so like, for instance, if you had like, life is chaotic, right? Then maybe a story that would support instead is to shift that story to life supports me and it's calm. Life is calm and it supports me, right? Or if you have like, if some of you had, I can't trust people, you could be like, I trust myself and I extend love. Or if there's not enough, right, then this new story could be like, there's more than enough for everyone. Right. So I want you to think of something that can replace the old story about why you might be stuck, right? Think of another story. And I would love, and you might not believe it yet, right? You might not believe, like, if you're like, oh, life is easy, it's not chaotic, life is easy. You might not believe it yet. But here's the thing, a belief is a story that's on repeat over time, which is why these stories that you have become a belief system in you, generating the context that you're living out of, right? So a belief is just a story that's on repeat. So if you change the story, even though it may feel inauthentic at first, it will eventually become the new normal, and it will become part of a new context, a new environment. You'll start believing it, right? A new place for you to plant all of those intentions and goals and visions that you have, like a fertile soil for your life. So if you have that new story, and some of you already put, I think maybe life is busy but comes with abundance, right? So if you have that new story or that new context, like it could be one word or it could be a phrase. You could just flip the story. And I want you to type that into the chat as well. So like, what context do you want to create instead, right? Think of the container that would hold what you want. Like if you're looking to create more clients, who would you need to be maybe, right? What would your container, what would your context need to be for you to do that? Maybe it'd be abundance, so connection, courage, integrity, commitment, right? And so for some of you, you'll flip the script and you'll just write another sentence. And for some of you, you might just know like a word, like, yes, Karen, like courage, right? Boom, courage. You might know what you need to put, what ingredient of your way of being that you need to put in to generate a context that's going to have what you say that you want. I have more than enough time to try new things. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see if we have a few more. Let's go for it. And I'll sip of water while you do that. All right, if you're still typing, keep going, and please hit enter when you are done, when you have something. And again, like, even if right now you can think of a word, like peace, love, connection, authenticity, courage, intimacy, vulnerability, like, that if you added that way of being, you would most likely break through that glass ceiling, right? And I know you know the word. I know you know what it is. But you got to have you got to look inside. Yes, courage. Beautiful. And as you think of that, and maybe some of you are just thinking of your word, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a song on here. I'm just going to share my audio real quick. There we go. And what I want you to do is, unless you're still typing, I would love for you to close your eyes. Right? So I want you to close your eyes. Just close your eyes and maybe take a breath in and let it out. And I want you to presence what you either just wrote down or what's in your mind right now. You might not have written it down, but you know what it is. Like, you know what maybe that new story needs to be, or that new way of being that's going to create your new context, right? I want you to think of that way of being or that new story that's going to create your new context. And I want you to feel that new context. Let's say it's courage, right? I saw courage a lot, right? Or let's say that it's, I have more than enough time to try new things, right? I want you to feel that context as an energy, like a frequency, like a vibration in your body, in your chest, in your heart. And maybe let your breath slow down a little. And maybe if your shoulders are tight, just drop them. Just drop your shoulders. Straighten your back and open your heart and just be it. Believe it. Just believe it. Why wouldn't we believe it? And when we get into that space, that is peace, right? And peace isn't something you find. Peace is actually something that you generate. Because when judgment, greed, or fear dissolve, peace doesn't need to be created. It simply reveals itself because it was always there. So even just taking this moment for a second where you're just, yes, we might be on Zoom and we might feel like we're all across the world and we're not in person and all this stuff, but you taking a moment just for you to reflect on you. And when was the last time you did that? Maybe some of you do it often, maybe some of you haven't done it in years, or maybe even never, ever. So when you're ready, you could just go ahead and open your eyes. Open your eyes. And so what happens when we do something like we just did? I know it's short. I know we're on a call, right? But what's possible is to shift your entire field in just like a couple of minutes, right? Now imagine practice this consciously for 6 weeks. Like retraining your brain and your reticular activating system, right? And retraining your body to live in peace, love, and gratitude instead of reactivity, judgment, and fear. And that's what we do in my 6-week course, Rewired for Peace. It's actually starting next Friday, same time, not 6 p.m. for you, 12 noon EST. And it's actually not even a course. Like, it's more of a reprogramming of how you perceive yourself and how you perceive the world. Not reprogram it as in I'm going to tell you what to believe, but a reprogram of you getting through and off of all the stuff that's running you, so that you then can choose and create from nothing. Right? So the next one starts next Friday from 12 to 2 p.m. EST. It's normally $675, but I'm offering it for $275. So anyone that's called in can step in, right? I'm not going to have this offer available for much longer. There's about 15 spots left in this next class. So what I'm going to do right now, and I'm not finishing, I'm just doing this right now because I want you to have an opportunity to grab it early if you want to. So I'm going to drop in the chat the website. There we go. Okay, so let's take this a little bit deeper, okay? So most of the time, your brain isn't even making new choices, right? We think we're making clear new choices, right? But we're not. It's just recycling old predictions, right? So it pulls from your past and then it paints it over the present. So if you failed before, your system predicts failure again. If you were hurt, it predicts more pain. If humanity has waged war for centuries, our collective reticular activating system predicts more conflict collectively. And what we focus on, where we put our attention on, we will get more of that. It's even, you've heard, what you resist persists, right? And so what we keep doing is we keep planting new seeds in yesterday's soil, I've done it too, right? For years, my need for approval dictated everything I did. Like it had become my operating system. I would just blindly trust people, thinking that if I trust them, they would like me. I would do too much to get recognition and praise from people, like do, and trying to get them to like me, love me, right? I would strategize love rather than experience it because I wanted to make sure I was liked. I wouldn't be honest in my communication because I would rather say what they would like, right? And when I saw it, like truly saw it, everything shifted. Because the thing is, when our past is driving our bus into the future, we're living in survival. We're just surviving based on the past. But when we are able to instead choose in the moment who we are and our context, we actually begin to create. And that creation doesn't stop with you creating results. Because when you operate from peace and love, you actually become part of the immune system of the planet. And thereby, we can all transmute fear because we're living in a fear-based world. I know you see it every day. So let's do this. Let's put one word in the chat. One word that or if you need to put a sentence, you can put a sentence. But like, what is your vision for the world? Right? So mine is peace in my lifetime. Right? It's been that for a very long time. I don't know, it's a very, very long time, actually, probably like 40 years or something, right? My vision is to create peace on the planet in my lifetime. And we're clearly not there yet, but I'm still working on it, right? So what's your vision for the world? Is it peace? Is it connection? Is it joy? Is it love? Is it happiness? Right, connection, beautiful. And most of us don't even think about that. Like some of us are like, what do you mean vision for the world? I'm just trying to freaking get out of bed in the morning, right? But if you were to think, right? What would it be? What would be the vision? Like, what would you want your energy to create in the world? Success, peace, love. I see joy, freedom with connection and laughter, freedom for all. I love it. And let's see, I thought I saw another one. Oh, there I did. Love versus hate, right? Acceptance of all. So love, yes, love and acceptance. Hello, right? So simple. It's not even anything we have to do or study. We could just choose it. We could just choose to walk around connected, free, joyous, loving, compassionate, and kind. We all start walking around that way. Guess what? You're not going to see what you're seeing today. You're not. But instead, we've become victims to what we're seeing, even though we generated it. And then we're blaming our mood and our fear and all the stuff on the shit that's going on outside of us when we have everything that it takes to actually shift it. So this stuff that you put in, this is the real work, right? If that's what you want to see in the world, why not us first, right? Why not you first? Why don't you perfect it, right? From an internal state of being. Because when you do that, your context changes into that, and that is what will be created. It's the same with everything you do. And this is the real work. And this is why I've dedicated the last 25 years to transformation and to awakening, right? With an intention to create peace on the planet in my lifetime. And it's also why I designed my course, Rewired for Peace, right? It's essentially like a laboratory for awakening. 6 weeks to rewire your filters and your stories and your nervous system and your relationship to reality itself, or the reality you think is reality that isn't even reality, because it's just a projection of your conditioning. That's all it is. That's what life is. So let's rewire our conditioning so that we can see the life that we want to see. And if you do that, then you won't just talk about peace, you will become peace. And when you become peace, that changes everything. So I would love to see you in my class on Friday. Like I said, we already have a good group in there. And this is actually the only webinar I'm doing to offer the last few spots that I have. So again, we start on Friday, 275. I just put the link again. But here's the thing. Let's land this, because in the last hour or so, 50 minutes, you've actually seen in real time how your mind filters reality, right? In the bird and the hand exercise. You've seen it now, most of you. Some of you might have seen it right away, right? You've also caught your old story, right? Or at least one of the stories. Trust me, we have tons of them. You've also created a new context, one that aligns with peace, possibility, and power, or whatever it is you want, like a new vision. And we did all this in 15 minutes. And that's not just personal growth. I'm telling you that. That's a consciousness evolution. So imagine 6 weeks from now, grounded, awake, aware, unshakable, responding in life with compassion instead of being defensive, leading with presence and humility instead of pressure and dominance and fear, right? Like showing up as the calm in this noisy, crazy world that we have chosen to come into. And that's what Revive for Peace is, right? It's a movement toward a more awakened you. And as a result, a more awakened humanity, creating the results we were born and intended to create. Right? If I want peace on the planet, right, I could easily maybe, join the Peace Corps, or I could go out and demonstrate. I could do a lot of things wanting to create peace. But the way I've chosen to create peace is to create creative peacemakers like you guys, so that we're all just being it out there in the world. Because there really isn't a lot we can actually, quote unquote, do about it all. And I know you feel that. I feel that every day I open the news. I don't feel like I can't do anything about it, right? But we can certainly be something. We can certainly share our love. We can share our connection, our vulnerability, our intimacy, our love, our successes, everything in our daily life, in our families, in our relationships, at work, at Starbucks, on the bus, whatever we're doing. Because when enough of us choose peace over judgment, love over fear, or connection over control or righteousness, then peace on earth stops being a dream. It becomes a byproduct of who we are, which is the byproduct we're watching is who we've been. And it's going to stay that way unless we change who we are. So I would love for you to join me. Let's rewire ourselves, and together let's create a world that works for everyone. Now, I'm going to open up space for if anyone has any questions. If you don't have any questions, we're complete here today. You feel free to get off the call, go enroll in the class. We start next Friday. And if you have any questions, I will stay on here for another 10 minutes and answer anything that you have. So thank you all so much for coming and being here today.